Now that the Straw Hats have finally become a Yonko crew, it is no surprise that when it comes to power and strength, they are absolutely stacked. Nami, Usopp and Chopper have come a long way from where they first began as weak characters. Brook and Frankie are also pretty strong in their own right, and Robert and Jimmy have gotten to the point where they can likely contend with actual Yonko commanders on their own. But you and I both know who the main top dogs are of the crew, the monster trio, Luffy, Zoro and Sanji. These three have always been at the peak of the crew throughout all of One Piece. No matter how many strong characters join, Oda has always made sure to make it clear that the monster trio will not change. And now that we're approaching the endgame of One Piece, these three have all expected to become monsters in their own right. Their progression has been equally insane, to the point where they can now challenge actual emperors and admirals. And so that just brings up the question, has the monster trio become too strong? Starting with Luffy, from the very beginning of the story, he has always been him. I mean, it took like a good 100 chapters for us to see Luffy actually lose a fight, which was to a warlord, and yeah, I mean, he got his shit rocked, but you can't really fault him for that. He ran through Impel Down, had a generational performance in Marineford, embarrassed Big Meme, but his biggest achievement so far is no doubt what he did in Wano. Yes, it did take him a while, but after multiple ass beatings, Luffy finally managed to reach Gear 5 and defeat Kaido, solidifying him as a true Yonko level pirate. Not some fraudulent shit like Lauren Kidd, who had to jump Big Mom and barely got the win. No, Gear 5 Luffy was actually scrapping with Kaido. I know it's a big debate in the community as to whether or not current Luffy is actually stronger than Kaido, since during Wano, Kaido not only had to hold an entire island, but also got jumped by multiple people and had zero rest in between. Bro essentially ran through an entire gauntlet non-stop. But even with that in mind, you could also argue that when they fought, Luffy was in worse shape than Kaido. Because, well, he had previously just been killed, so no matter how low on HP Kaido was, Luffy would still technically be lower. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Whether you think Luffy is currently stronger than Kaido or not, one thing we can all agree on is that they're highly relative, which puts Luffy at the absolute peak of the verse. Kaido's portrayal of being the strongest creature alive, and the narrative of him being above Big Mom, definitely puts him at the high end of the top tiers. He should be contending with characters like Shanks, Akainu and Mihawk as one of the strongest in One Piece, so Luffy being relative to him would also put him near those guys. And this makes sense, I mean, Luffy is finally a Yonko, so him being on the level of the other top tiers of the verse by no way means he has become too strong. It's not like he's become the strongest and can just shit on everyone now. The new chapter made it very clear that Luffy can still be threatened by admirals and by extension the other Yonko as well. He is incredibly strong, but I believe in terms of narrative and story, right now he sits perfectly at the top tier, relative to the other monsters of the One Piece world. Now, moving on to what I think is the more interesting part of the video, it's time to talk about the Wings of the Pirate King, Zoro and Sanji. Obviously, we've always expected Luffy to get insanely strong very fast as he's the protagonist of the story. But next to him, Sanji and Zoro have been making crazy leaps recently. They've both always been beasts, of course, but especially throughout the later stages of Wano is where these two really got in their bag. Anyone could have probably guessed that we'd get the king and queen matchups, but I don't think many people really thought it'd turn out to be a complete stomp. Unlike Luffy's fight with Kaido, where after he got Gear 5, him and Kaido were still relative, after Zoro and Sanji got their power-ups, they completely destroy their opponents. Sanji blitzes the fuck out of Queen, and Zoro one-shots King. And I'm gonna be for real, at first glance, yeah, they do seem kinda overpowered. With Luffy finally reaching Yonko level, you'd expect Zoro and Sanji to be around equal to first and second commanders as of right now. Well, not exactly. You see, what a lot of people fail to notice is that there is a big difference between your average Yonko commanders and characters like Zoro and Sanji, who act more as the wings of their captain. With your average Yonko crew, for example, the Big Mom Pirates, Katakuri being her first commander, he is pretty strong, but he is nowhere near Big Mom herself. It's to the point where she's just no different if they actually happen to fight. And this is the case with other crews, like the Whitebeard Pirates and the Beast Pirates. But the Straw Hats crew structure more closely resembles crews like Shanks and Rogers. In those crews, Rady and Beckman are much closer to their captain when it comes to strength. Despite his old age, Rady can still tangle with admirals, and as for Ben Beckman, he has multiple statements implying he isn't far off from Shanks. Zoro and Sanji would fall into this category, where yeah, Luffy is definitely stronger than the two, but the gap isn't actually that big. It's why it's expected that they'll eventually fight other top tiers, like Mihawk and Kizaru, something that your average Yonko commander is not doing. Like, imagine Katakuri fighting Mihawk, man. Bro's getting cooked. Even as of now, Sanji's insane feats already put him at the top of the verse when it comes to speed. Despite getting whooped, Queen was still able to keep up and track Marco, but when he fought Sanji, well, the fight starts and Sanji disappears. Sanji was essentially able to perception blitz a character who could keep up with Marco. The same Marco that was holding his own against Kizaru, the fastest character in all of One Piece. And as for Zoro, attack potency is where he really shines. He had 2 Yonkos completely terrified of his attacks before he even got his power up. After that, he becomes an entirely different demon. The same king that was tanking his previous attacks like nothing proceeds to get and yeah, even though he wasn't in his most durable form, the fact that he turned that shit off implies he himself wasn't even confident that he could tank Zoro's attacks. So to sum it up for these two, Zoro has top tier AP and Sanji has top tier speed. Individually, they're still whooping like 99% of the verse, unironically. The only people I can see them definitely losing to are characters who scale to Admirals and Yonko, but other than those top tiers, everyone else either gets washed or is a toss up. In conclusion, the monster trio are busted. Luffy is already contending with the strongest characters in the verse, and it looks like Sanji and Zoro will get there pretty soon too. To answer the title of the video, I believe no, the monster trio haven't gotten too strong. As I previously said, Zoro and Sanji have always been narratively implied to end up being much stronger than your average commanders. So it is no surprise that now that we're finally entering the endgame of One Piece, they've both become monsters. If you've enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe as it really helps the channel and me. Also, if you've got any thoughts regarding the topic of the monster trio and their strength, be sure to drop it down below in the comments as I'm very interested in reading what other people have to say. Other than that though, thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.